Hey everyone, welcome to your field trip video. Now normally, in a normal year, the field trip is a day that everyone looks forward to. It's a day where we get to take you out to your local ecosystem and have a day of fun. You get to partake in an awesome day full of activities exploring the ecosystem that you've learned about in Secrets, this day that we have been looking forward to for the entire Secrets curriculum. We're gonna have to modify a bit. We are so grateful that this curriculum is something that we can share virtually. So something else that we're thankful for is that these videos you can watch from home, and the curriculum you can explore from your backyard, and it can still feel really real. So today, we are gonna still have a special day. We have a very special video lined up for you. And so we're all gonna come together from afar and enjoy this awesome field trip. No matter where you decide to take your field trip, we're gonna ask of you a couple of things. Number one is to be safe. Wear the appropriate shoes, bring water, make sure somebody knows where you are if you're alone. Remember to walk. Remember to look where you're going. So the first thing is to be safe. The second thing is to be respectful. So make sure wherever you decide to go, stay where humans should go. Stay on the trail. Remember to keep your safe distance from animals. Be respectful of wildlife. And keep plants where plants are able to grow. If you use any materials for any of these coming activities, make sure to use things that are already fallen from trees or are already on the ground. So number two is be respectful. Number three is to be a part of nature. And lastly, make sure you have fun. So during all of these activities, we're gonna ask of you to use all of your senses. You have the sense of sight. You have the sense of smell. You have the sense of taste. You have the sense of hearing or listening. You have the sense of touch. Now, one of the greatest senses that we don't get to talk about very much is the sense of wonder. So hopefully during this video, you'll learn a lot and have a lot of fun. And hopefully you'll also come away with more questions than you started. And it's okay if some of those questions don't have answers. So before we get started, let's all close our eyes. If you do this by yourself after the video, that's really encouraged. But for now, I'm gonna close my eyes and I'm gonna use all of those senses that we just talked about. So feel free to use your senses with me right now. Even though we're not all together, we can be together in this video. So let's all take a deep breath and close our eyes. And let's just be still and quiet for about 10 seconds. And then after the 10 seconds, I'll ask you to point to some things that you hear. So we'll do that. Okay, ready? All right, wherever you are, point to the sound of a singing bird. Now I hear the sound of a river, so I'm gonna point to the river. If you're by water, maybe a stream, a trickle, if you hear any sense of rushing water, point to that water. Now I feel the wind, and I think the wind is coming from this direction. Now that direction. And I feel the sun coming from there. Now you guys can open your eyes. Look at the sun. Awesome. So up next, you guys are gonna get to partake in a couple activities with both Steelhead and Huckleberry. They're gonna be a lot of fun. And remember, if you wanna do these activities by yourself, feel free. Huckleberry and Steelhead are gonna show you how to do them, and then you guys can do these activities after this video as many times as you want. Along with these activities, we have a scavenger hunt for you. Either you can use the scavenger hunt in the description below this video, or you can make up your own scavenger hunt. This scavenger hunt should be things that you observe, you don't collect. So for example, you could have something green, something fuzzy, something prickly. And so you just have to find these things, and once you find them, you can check them off your list. If you want to make your own scavenger hunt, feel free. If not, you can use the scavenger hunt that we've created in the description for this video. Now, one other thing that our scavenger hunt has is 5 pieces of trash, or 5 pieces of litter. And those 5 pieces of litter, you can feel free to collect. Because during this video, during our field trip, we want to be stewards of our ecosystem, and we want to leave this place, wherever you may be, better than how you found it. Now, at the end of this video, we hope that you feel inspired to do these activities on your own, and we hope you feel inspired to get outside more, no matter how close to home you stay. So with that, have fun on your field trip.
Huckleberry here, and welcome to your virtual field trip. Today I am on a portion of the Indian Creek Trail in Hood River, and I'm going to do a couple different activities with you guys. And these activities you can do yourself at home, and they're best done outside, but you can do these in your backyard, in your front yard, along the sidewalk, near your house, or you can go to a park. So we're out in the forest ecosystem today, and this station is called Wild Village. So what we're going to do first is we're going to shrink down and pretend that we're the size of an ant. And we're going to do this by changing our perspective. In our first activity, we're going to go on a micro hike. So get ready to get small and explore the forest floor. So all you're going to need for this activity is a string or a shoelace. So my string is about 1 meter long, or 3 feet. And we're going to use this string to become our trail for our ants for a micro hike. If you have a magnifying glass at home, that could be really helpful too, so you can get really up close and see things on the forest floor. Alright, so I've gone ahead and laid out my string like a trail, and we're going to pretend that we are an ant, and it is our first time navigating this trail, and we're going to see what we encounter. So let's zoom in and start down here at the very beginning. So we'll start here at the bottom of the slope. And right away, I see that there's all of this fluffy stuff. And I know that this comes from the cottonwood trees that are around here. But if I were an ant, I would have no idea what this stuff was, and I would have to navigate over it. And then as I travel a little bit further, I'll come across this big stick that I'll have to climb either over or under. And then I get to this green stuff, which is some sort of branch from maybe a cedar tree, and that would be pretty bumpy to get over. And then there's more of this cottonwood fluffy stuff, and then we're going uphill, we're getting really tired, and further uphill, and then we have to go under this piece of bark and keep climbing. We're getting really tired, we have to stop and take a break. Whew. Keep climbing. We gotta go over these pine needles and up, and here we have to kind of hop and maybe hop onto this branch. Wow! And keep climbing over this. I don't even know what that is. And this is a pretty long journey as an ant. I'm going over all of this debris, all of this deep, rich soil on the forest floor, over some more cottonwood, over some more pine needles, and we're close to the top. We're gonna keep climbing and climbing, and oh no, there's a leaf in the way. Gotta climb over the leaf. And now I can see the top. We made it! So as you're doing this micro hike activity, I want you guys to think about whether this experience changed your perspective of the forest. Because if you're zooming in really small, you're maybe noticing some things that you wouldn't ordinarily notice if you're just a human walking down the trail. So I hope you enjoyed this activity, and let's move on to our next one. So now that we've finished our hike as ants, we need a place for our ants to kick back and relax. So we're gonna help out our little ant friends by helping them to build an ant mansion on the forest floor. So in order to do that, and you guys can all do this at home as well, we need to collect some building materials. And so I'm gonna go around and collect some things like maybe some sticks, some leaves, some bark, maybe some of this fluffy cotton stuff that I've been seeing around. I think it would make a nice pillow. So let's go see what we can find. So I've collected some materials. Here I've collected some of that fluffy stuff that I think I'm gonna use for either a bed or a pillow for my ants. Got some leaves here that maybe can make a roof. Got a stick and some of these cool needly things. So let's get building. So when you're building your ant mansion, we're making a habitat for these ants. So remember we learned earlier what a habitat was. It's how an animal finds its food, water, and shelter. So these little mansions or houses have to have a shelter and maybe some food, maybe a way to get water for your ants. So keep that in mind when you're building. Okay, I finished my ant mansion. So I started off by putting all those leaves on the floor to make a nice floor for my ants. And then I made a little bed out of a piece of bark with a pillow, made out of that cottony stuff. And then I put these cedar boughs as kind of the front lawn. I built a little fence with these pieces of bark. And then these needles are making like a little pathway out of the house. And then I made a big roof out of another piece of bark to protect my ants from all of the elements. I chose to make my habitat for some ants, but you can make this habitat for any sort of creature that you want. You could make it for some beetles or for some bumblebees, maybe for some fairies, up to you. And that might shape what the habitat looks like and what goes inside. I hope these activities showed you some ideas on how to change your perspective when you're looking at the ecosystem around you. And remember, both of these activities that we did together can be done anywhere outside. So in your yard, in a park, or even on the sidewalk outside your house. So get creative and think small. See you guys next time.
I usually go by Steelhead for those that I haven't met before. I hope to meet you in person someday. So Steelhead, I'll be leading the activity Stream Scene, and I'll also be leading an activity called Solar Treasure, where we're gonna be doing some observing. Stream Scene, we'll be doing some exploring. Solar Treasure, we'll be doing some observing, and a little bit of a bonus activity towards the end. Before we go any further, I wanna take a moment to use a practice from indigenous cultures. And I want to respectfully acknowledge the land here where I live and work and play along the Columbia River. And I want to just express a lot of appreciation and gratitude that I have for the indigenous people that have and continue to steward the land here. Specifically people from the Chinook, the Wasco and Wishram, the Northern Paiute, the Umatilla, the Cayuse, Sahaptin, the Yakima, the Cowlitz. I just want to acknowledge that I have a lot of responsibility, and we all have a lot of responsibility as we do this field trip to continue to take cues from indigenous culture on stewarding this land and taking care of this special place. All right, well, this activity is called Solar Treasure. And the idea here is to really just slow down, make some observations, just notice what we're seeing. We're gonna try to use all of our senses in this station, in this activity. And we call it Solar Treasure because we're searching for some treasure. All right, we're out there looking for treasure. And all of the treasure that we're looking for, or most of the treasure that we're looking for, it's getting its energy from the sun. Okay, so it's the solar treasure. because all living things get their energy from the sun. Now, I can't get my energy from the sun directly, but things that I eat to get energy get their energy from the sun. When I eat a salad, that salad is a plant, and it's getting its energy through the process of photosynthesis. So it's using the sun's energy to convert it into sugar energy that the plant can use. Then I can eat that plant and get energy. So we're just gonna go on a walk straight from here where I live and see what we can find. We're gonna go check things out and just look for some treasures. Ooh, this is kind of cool. A couple weeks ago, these were all flowers. Now, and there were bees and butterflies all over the place. Now, these flowers are turning into these little fruits. So maybe some animals could eat these. This is kind of a cool tree here. I like the texture of the needles on this. I'm actually just gonna take one little piece of one of these needles and I'm gonna split it in half and smell it. I almost get like a citrus kind of a scent. Give it a taste too. Tastes pretty good. Found some poison oak for you. So right down here, I'm not gonna touch this one. Just beyond the purple flowers in there, that's poison oak. Those 3 leaves are kind of shiny. We call them lobed. Sometimes they can be sort of reddish. So that's the stuff I don't want to touch. But if I do accidentally touch it, I just need to wash it off vigorously. It's almost like getting oil onto your hand. You don't touch it and it should be all right. I think you want to go this way. I think this is it. Oh, and this is interesting. I'm noticing a lot of this stuff on these short grasses and some of these other plants where there's this stuff that looks like spit attached to the plant. Wonder what that's all about. Noticed a couple of little bugs on there too. Okay, I've gone a little further away from my house. Here's a cool plant though. This plant, I like feeling this one, especially with this rain recently and these little water droplets on here. It makes it a little bit softer, but these plants have these kind of pokey edges on the side. So sometimes they're kind of feel a little bit sharp. And then look at this fruit coming in just like the other plants. See these fruits coming in. These are gonna turn kind of a purplish blue, and they are edible, but they're really bitter. And this is the Oregon State flower. But some people make jam out of these, but I like the texture of these leaves and how shiny they are. This plant actually, it oftentimes gets confused with poison oak because it has, when you look at just the end, it has kind of these 3 lobed leaves that look similar to poison oak. And sometimes these leaves can have kind of a reddish or yellow color. You might be able to see on some of those ones back there. But it's not poison oak. Here's some poison oak and Oregon grapes side by side. So you see the differences here. Here's over on the right here, we have the poison oak. And over here we have the Oregon grape. Here's another cool plant. This white flower. So this has some medicinal properties. If you get like a cut, you could use this plant to help treat your cut, like an antibiotic ointment. So it has this really cool white flower. When you get up close, you can see there's a handful of petals on there, and they grow in these clusters. That one's called yarrow. Part of Solar Treasure also is finding a spot where you can either sit or stand for at least 10 minutes, totally silent, just on your own, not near anybody else. And during this time, we're thinking about what we wonder about what's going on outside here, and with all of the trees and animals and all the different plants and flowers, and the water and the wind and the sun and the rocks. Just thinking about it all. And we can write during this time. We could write a poem, we could write a list, we could write a paragraph or a sentence. We could write, we could draw a picture if we wanted, or we could just sit there. And as we're doing these things, we're thinking about what we see, what we hear, what we feel, what we smell, and just sitting there and listening to the rhythm of all of these different things. If there's water nearby, or birds, or the wind, or trees, and trying to notice all these different things that are happening around. Now, I'm going to do this in a few different spots. Right now, I'm just going to do it here right on my porch, and I'm just going to sit here silently and see what I notice. This has been nice, and I really don't want to move on to the next activity, but off we go. All right, this activity is called Stream Scene, and I've come down to the Columbia River here to do this because what we're going to be doing is looking for aquatic macroinvertebrates. All right, well, let's talk about what that means. Aquatic, talking about water. All right, so looking for things that live in water. Invertebrates, that is an animal that does not have a backbone. So things living in the water that don't have backbones. Macro, that just means small. Micro, we would need a microscope to see it. Macro means that we don't need any tools to see it, but they're still small. So aquatic macroinvertebrates, things in the water that are small, but we can see them and they don't have a backbone. Here are some examples of aquatic macroinvertebrates. There. Leeches, snails, clams, crayfish, crawdads, water striders. All right, the things that we're probably gonna find are down here on the bottom. Now there are ways to do this using nets and gathering the invertebrates that way. Because we're not using this for scientific data and we're just doing a demonstration, I'm just going to do this by turning over a rock and looking underneath it for an invertebrate, something crawling around. Then I'm going to use the chart or the key to try to decide what type of invertebrate it might be by making observations of the invertebrate, and then that will tell me how tolerant those invertebrates are to pollution. So then I'll be able to determine the health of the aquatic ecosystem here. Let's do it. Oh, there's one. Okay, I'm gonna get a little collection going here in this container. There's one. All right. I'm putting those rocks back where I got them from. Okay, we have a little collection of invertebrates. We're gonna take a look, try to identify them, learn a little bit about them. Here's our first one. Okay, first thing we want to decide is if it has a shell or no shell. I don't see a shell. So then I want to look and decide if it has legs or no legs. And I see legs. Okay, then I go and decide whether it has 10 or more legs, 4 pairs of legs, or 3 pairs of legs. I see 3 pairs of legs. Then I want to decide if it has wings or no wings. I don't see wings. Then I'm looking for a tail. I see tails, and I see 2 tails. So that tells me that this is a stonefly. It has smooth sides. Alright, well, let's learn a little bit about stoneflies. Okay, well, stoneflies like to eat leaves that fall into the water, and they also eat live organisms. So this is actually a predator. It likes shaded areas. It's pretty sensitive to pollution. It cannot live with pollution. Right now it's in the larva stage, and soon it will go into the adult stage and have wings and fly around. Okay, here's our next one. Actually, it looks like we have 2 in there, or maybe even 3. Anyways, I'm focusing on the big one that's going fast. Alright, so we're looking shells or no shells, no shell, legs or no legs. I do see some legs, and I'm thinking that we're probably it has like 3 pairs of legs, and it also has wings, and it's swimming right side up, and it has black on the back, so we're calling that a water boatman. And water boatmen, they eat algae, plants, bacteria. They like shallow stream edges, and they are tolerant to pollution, so they can live with pollution. All right, and the last one we're gonna do here, a little harder to see, but I don't see a shell. I do see legs. I see 3 pairs of legs. I don't see any wings. I do see tails, and I see 3 tails in the shape of a fan. I also see, it's hard to tell on this video, but I do see feathery sides, and those happen to be gills. So this is a mayfly. They eat algae, bacteria, plants, leaves. They like stream bottoms, and they are sensitive to pollution. This is the nymph stage. Eventually it'll become an adult. Some interesting things about mayflies is that once they're an adult, they have 1 day to live. And that's the end of their life cycle. Mayflies also use those feathery gills on the side to propel them forward. So they bring the water in to get the oxygen, they shoot it out, and it propels them forward. Now that we're done observing all of the invertebrates, we're gonna release them back to where they were. Okay, the question then is, why are we doing this? Why do we care about what lives in this river? Well, the reason is because everything is connected. All of the water and air, the land, all of the beings, the people, the plants, animals, everything is connected. Every one of those is relying on the other. And in an ecosystem, we have living things and non-living things that are working together to form the community. So with here we have these invertebrates are living things. They're living with the non-living water and air and rocks. When we find these, they can tell us about the health of the stream or river or creek. Depending on what types of invertebrates are living there, what organisms are living there, then we can determine how much pollution might be in the water. For this last part of stream scene, I filled up a water bottle, and we're going to pretend that this represents all of the water in the world. So all of the lakes, rivers, oceans, glaciers, polar ice caps, all of the water in the world, we're going to pretend it's all in this bottle. Now most of that water is in the ocean, so we need to separate out all of the ocean water. I'm going to pour some into here. This represents all of the fresh water, all of the rivers and lakes and glaciers. That's all of the fresh water in the world. This is all of the ocean water. Of this fresh water, we can't access all of it because some of it is frozen in the polar ice cap. So we're gonna separate out all of the fresh water that is frozen. So we're gonna pour that into this one. So that represents all of the frozen water. Can't access that. Now we have all of this fresh water that is accessible, but I wouldn't want to just drink this water without treating it. Even though the organisms that we found living in the Columbia River are sensitive to pollution, that tells me the water is pretty clean, but I wouldn't want to drink it without treating it. So the amount available to drink out of all this water in the world, from the ocean, the rivers and lakes, and the frozen water, the ice caps, there's only a little bit of this fresh water available to drink. Okay, so we have our fresh water. Here's the amount available to drink. Just that one drop. That's all the water available to drink in the world. What does that tell me? That tells me that water is a precious resource that I need to be sure I'm taking care of and I'm not wasting water. So between brushing my teeth or washing hands, I can turn the water off. If I'm done drinking a glass of water, I could save it for later, use it to water plants. A lot of ways. You could collect dishwater, you could collect shower water, could collect rainwater and use that for watering gardens and plants. All kinds of ways to conserve water or use less water. We're really lucky here in the United States, and in particular in the Columbia River Gorge. We have really good water available to us. I can turn on my faucet and drink that water. I can drink the water that comes out of the hose. The water that's in the toilet, I could drink that before. The only thing that makes it dirty is hitting the toilet. So I'm not going to drink it because it is dirty and has bacteria. But before the actual water, before it hits the toilet, is clean. Most places around the world, you can't just turn on the faucet and drink the water. So we're really lucky to have such good water here. It's so easily accessible to us. And so conserving it, or at least not wasting water, making sure we're taking measures to take care of the water. And that's the end of Stream Scene. All right, we're ready for our last activity, and I'm going to ask you to do something that's a little bit different from what we have done on this field trip so far. I'm gonna ask you to go outside and play. That's it. Go outside, get creative. You don't need any props, you don't need to bring any toys or tools or anything. You just go outside, you look around, you find stuff you can use, create a game. Just go outside and play. That's all you need to do. Go outside and play. Figure it out. Be creative. Say yes to whatever it is you're gonna do. Last weekend, my son found a rock for himself and a rock for me, and we had 2 tries to roll it to a tree, and the person that got it closest to the tree won. Okay, so just go outside, make up a game, do whatever you want, and just play. All right, well, that wraps up our field trip. I hope that you all enjoyed, are going to enjoy some more time outside doing some of these activities. Hopefully this has been helpful and maybe you even learned something. Feel free to get in touch with us. You can email us at info@gorgeecology.org, or you can give us a call at 541-387-2274. If you have questions or anything, feel free to get in touch. And in closing, we usually like to group up in a circle, just like we do at the beginning of the day, and go around and share one thing that you really appreciated or enjoyed about the day, or maybe it's something that you wonder, whatever it is, just one thing about the day. And I really am just enjoying the time to sit in the sun with a few raindrops falling and feel the breeze and enjoy some fresh air. Thank you for participating, and thank you for your time. In closing, for thousands and millions of years, beings of all kinds in the world have learned, they have adapted, and they have survived. Now is the time to take care of ourselves, take care of those that are close to us, and make sure we're taking care of the communities in which we live. On behalf of all of us at Gorge Ecology Outdoors, we wish you all the best.